It's Warmies here on this Sunday evening. Thank you all for joining us for the opening act of our Flames Nation coverage this evening of what should be a fantastic game between the Calgary Flames and the Vancouver Canucks. The first of three shows coming to you live on this channel. And we're going to tell you a little bit more about what we got in store for you here shortly. Mike Gould with you on the Warmies, coming to you live from the Sports Interaction studio. Our opening segment, of course, is to talk about tonight's game. The Calgary Flames looking to win their third in a row. They have moved out of the NHL's basement, at least on a technicality. They no longer have the fewest points in the National Hockey League. They have the lowest points percentage, but splitting hairs at this point. And who knows? Maybe they'll win tonight against the Vancouver Canucks. We'll take a look at the opening lines, courtesy of our friends at Sports Interaction. The Flames are not the favorites in tonight's game. The Canucks are just narrowly projected to win tonight's contest. I think producer Michael's got the lines here handy. As we look here, the Flames at plus 115, Vancouver at minus 140. But when you really look at it, these two teams don't inspire a whole lot of confidence. The Canucks, we've been talking a lot of this season about the St. Louis Blues being a team in the Flames' sights at the bottom of the league standings. The Canucks are now tied with the Blues in points in the same number of games. They are 9-11-2 on the year through 22 games with a minus 12 goal differential, and they've lost their last two. So these are two teams that are not all that far apart. You look, the bottom four teams in the National Hockey League standings are all in the Western Conference, and the Canucks and the Flames are neck and neck, so to speak. Flames 31st in overall points, Canucks tied with St. Louis for 30th. So the spread set there at 1.5, the total at 6. But both teams putting decent goaltenders in this game. It's projected to be Dustin Wolf against Kevin Lankinen between the pipes at Rogers Arena tonight. Should be a fun one. On the road, going live, the Flames played yesterday, of course, here at the Scotiabank Saddledome in Calgary. I have to give a shout out to my buddy Robert Munich, Bobby Germany, for covering us on the Warmies yesterday. I was out of town for a little birthday celebration weekend. My first Flames game tonight as a 25-year-old should be a lot of fun. Maybe the Flames will extend their winning streak to 3 in a row. The Canucks, their opponents, lost to the same Dallas Stars team the Flames beat last night in their own previous contest at Rogers Arena. It was a 4-2 final score in favor of the Dallas Stars. The Canucks have not played the last 2 days. They got some good rest, and they won't play the next 2 days after this game. In fact, they had a 2-game break prior to their game against Dallas as well. So the Canucks extremely well rested as we head into tonight's game. Our buddy Ryan Pike is reporting live in our chat room about the other Flames game happening tonight. There's a lot going on the out-of-town scoreboard. We'll talk a little bit about it here moving forward. But Pike saying 3 points tonight for Matt Vagrinnen. Very true. The Flames the Flames farm team, the Calgary Wranglers, playing at Acrisure Arena down in Palm Desert against the Coachella Valley Firebirds. And early on in the third period, the Wranglers leading that game by a 4-3 score. And Matt Vagrinnen, as Pike mentioned, has a goal and 2 assists in that game, both primary assists. He had helpers on goals by Rory Cairns and Marty Firk before just scoring the go-ahead goal early on in period number 3 to make it a 4-3 contest. So good for Matt Vagrinnen, having an excellent season so far as one of the AHL's rookie scoring leaders. Quite frankly, exactly where he should be with what the Flames are doing and building. Didn't agree with a whole lot that Don Maloney said over his 2-part interview with Eric Francis this week, but what I did agree with on one part was that if we see grit in this season, I wouldn't bring him back up until February or March. I think it's a good environment for him to be in right now, and maybe once you trade a guy or two, that's where you bring in Matt Vagrinnen to say, hello, we want you to be a part of this team. So that's the Matt Vagrinnen situation, and I'm very excited to see what continues to happen there. We're here live in the Sports Interaction studio, and we have another prop that we want to tell you about. We're going to put it up on the screen here. Anytime hat trick score. Don't think we're going to see a hat trick tonight, but let's just check it out, Michael, just for fun, and read it and weep. We got 4 Canucks and one Flame up on the screen. Brock Besser, Connor Garland, and Elias Pettersson, as well as Evander Kane and Nazem Kadri there at plus 8,000. So let's just take a second just to digest that, to sort of really lean into what the Flames scoring woes have brought to them this season. And folks, continue to bring us good stuff in the chat as well. But that is what we're looking at for the player to score 3+ goal props. And again, this is brought to you by Sports Interaction. Every game is your game when you bet with Sports Interaction. Get on the action with parlay boosts, live betting, easy deposits, and payouts. Bet now at sportsinteraction.com/FlamesNation. 19+, please play responsibly. Michael, why don't you put up that the original lines again? Just the spread here, just for 1 sec, if you've still got it. The Flames are favored to lose today's game. The Canucks are favored to win today's game. The total at 6. I don't know, Michael. I don't know. I think for these two teams, the way that they're producing lately, I would be shocked to see them at 6 goals. But I'm not sure. I mean, Clark rather is our Vancouver era producer. He's over on the West Coast. Michael, why don't you hop in? Let's just hear what you have to say. What do you think? Do you think these two teams are going to combine for 6 goals tonight?
Absolutely not. I don't see there being more than 6 goals in this game. Both teams struggle to score. Calgary doesn't. They produce a lot of shots, as we kind of mentioned a lot on the show, but high danger, not very much at all. So I can't see this going over 6.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. You know, the Flames have been surprising me lately, and a lot of that has been born out of Devin Cooley between the pipes. He's had an excellent run to start the season. I posted on Twitter yesterday. He reminds me of Chad Johnson, and that's a deep cut for Flames fans, let alone folks from Toronto. But 7 or 8 years ago, the Flames brought in Brian Elliott to be their number 1 goaltender, and they had to rely on Chad Johnson to get them to the playoffs at all. And they're not really in the position this year where they're going to be in the playoff race. But Devin Cooley has been certainly one of the best stories so far for this Flames team. Tonight, though, it's going to be Dustin Wolf between the pipes. We should take a look at what the Flames are going to be trotting out here today as far as their forward lines, their defense pairings, and between the pipes. We don't expect a whole lot to change for the Flames after they've won their last couple of games. The top line, Jonathan Huberdeau with Morgan Frost and Matty Coronado. Second line, Kadri centering Farabee and Sharon Govich. Backlund on the third line with Blake Coleman and Connor Zary. And the fourth line, Sam Morton, Johnny Beecher, and Adam Klapka. Wouldn't be surprised if Ryan Lomberg re-entered the lineup maybe in favor of Beecher tonight. I haven't been a huge fan of Beecher through his first couple games with the Flames. Wouldn't mind seeing Lomberg draw back in. But aside from that, I think the top 9 has been pretty solid the last couple of outings for this Flames team. And, you know, the thing with injuries is they can be both a blessing and a curse for a team like the Flames, obviously, without a couple of guys, Sam Honzek and Marty Pospisil. And, you know, you wanted to obviously see more of those guys this season. They were making things very interesting at various points. Pospisil more so last couple of years. But then again, Honzek at the start of the season doing excellent work. And we don't know what the timeline is at all with Marty Pospisil. We haven't been communicated much of anything. We know that Sam Honzek's out up to the next 6 months after colliding with Michael Backlund a couple of games ago. And, you know, obviously you want to see those guys. By the same token, I think as well, it can help guys like Connor Zary, who have been in and out of the lineup and have had to continually be looking over their shoulder to start the season, maybe just get settled in without having to think about all that stuff. If I'm Connor Zary or Igor Sharangovich, the two guys who have kind of been up and down all season long and haven't been really producing up to the level of what's been expected, I can sort of say, okay, I can just sort of settle in and play my game and try to, you know, maintain a certain level on a similar line. I think the Flames in the early goings of the season were so preoccupied with trying to get guys going that they might have been changing things around too much. And now they're in a spot where they don't have an overabundance of forwards clogging up the works. And they also are kind of in a spot where, you know, they're not maybe feeling a ton of pressure to win games because they're out of it. I mean, interviews this week notwithstanding, they can just sort of, you know, take maybe a more measured approach. And I think that's what they should do with those guys over the next couple of weeks. And I think it's good that they are staying, as we expect, with the same lines in tonight's game, or at least similar lines. On the same sort of tack, but focusing on a positive here, Gene Sturby 9247. I don't know if that's the right nomenclature there, but Coronado. I mean, talk about a guy who has come to play, who has found his game over the last couple of weeks, and especially the last week. Obviously we heard the news today about Mikko Rantanen getting an automatic 1-game suspension for having his second game misconduct penalty for a physical play in the last week. Obviously, the first one knocking Alexander Romanov for the Islanders out for what we expect to be months. That was the wording that came out today about Rantanen's hit on Romanov. He's going to be out for a long time. Flames are fortunate that Matt Coronado, only sustained what he did. I mean, obviously his nose was busted up a little bit, came back, played great. He's been playing quite well, I think, for the last 2 weeks. Coronado all season has been getting shots, but I've been, at times a little critical of him because I've been thinking the shots he's been getting have been kind of empty calories. And in recent weeks, he's been playing way harder. He's been going to the net front. He's been getting rewarded. And with Matt Coronado, you get really excited when he plays like this. You say, okay, I don't know if Matt Coronado is going to be the number one forward on a contending team, but this is a guy who can score and who has a God-given gift to score goals. And he's got 8 of them now in 22 games this season, which is a lot more in line with what I think the Flames were expecting when they signed him for $6.5 million a year. So good to see Matt Coronado starting to get rewarded. Good to see Joel Farabee starting to get rewarded. I've liked that second line with him and Kadri and Igor over the last few games as well. I think they've been doing good things. So good to see that line staying together as well. And Scott, of course, as he has wanted to do, blaming that hit on Matt Coronado. Good to see you again, Scott. Thanks for joining us again tonight. I think you are maybe the only person in the chat here tonight who's blaming anybody but Mikko Rantanen for that hit. A totally needless hit. And I think Ryan Huska was right on the money after the game when he described it as a terrible hit. Yeah, it was very much deserving of supplemental discipline. And I wonder, the official wording, I think, Michael, I think we got the wording of the release from the NHL sort of talking about how this was an automatic suspension. But I wonder if there's going to be any discretion as well from the point of the NHL's Department of Player Safety saying, obviously by the letter of the law, this is a 1-game suspension. Do we as a department take it upon ourselves maybe to add a game to it because he's been thrown out of 2 games and both the hits were pretty ugly hits? I really wonder about it. I wonder if maybe we'll hear a little bit more. So in any event, Mikko Rantanen has got his just desserts after those 2 ugly hits. And good to see that Matty Coronado does not seem to be all that much the worse for wear after taking that hit. So, and I loved seeing Jonathan Huberdeau jump in to defend him. I really loved that. I think it is a testament to the growth that Jonathan Huberdeau has gone through over his 4 seasons here. I don't know if Huberdeau would have been as willing to do that 3 or 4 seasons ago. And it spoke to me a lot that he was just reared and ready to go after Mikko ran in the second that happened. I don't know if there's a single player on the Flames who has done more, at least to me, to elicit respect over the last couple seasons as Jonathan Huberdeau. I think he has shown to me a lot that even though he's in a situation that he would have every right, in my opinion, to not be super happy with, he's done what he needs to do to be a difference maker in various different ways. And I think if you put him on a better team, maybe making a salary that's more in line with what you would expect, that's a player that a lot of teams would love to have. And I don't ascribe to the notion that Florida won the cup because they got rid of Huberdeau. I ascribe to the notion that they won the cup because they got Matthew Tkachuk. But I think, if you put Huberdeau back on that Florida team, I think they'd be significantly more formidable than they are right now. So I think he's a heck of a player, and I think he's done a great job, in my opinion, at least, of sort of reshaping his game over the last couple of seasons. The chat is thriving again tonight. Fubar 1982 AWOL saying Huberdeau is a great leader. I agree. I think he's done a good job. Mr. Watts 69 bringing up a point that has been brought up by a lot of folks who are a lot more plugged in than me, who have been at the forefront of this over the last few days while I've been out of town. Yeah, it is weird to me that Craig Conroy doesn't have a contract extension. It was conspicuous to me in the Don Maloney article that he just sort of hand waved it. We're not going to get into it. That's part of our process. I mean, yeah, it is an internal thing. By the same token, I think, there's maybe a little bit better lip service to be paid. I empathize with people who are sort of saying, it's a nothing burger. The interview is Don Maloney, doesn't matter what he said. It doesn't necessarily indicate what the Flames are looking to do. I agree. I do agree to a certain extent with that. The Flames obviously aren't going to telegraph what they're going to do. By the same token, you have a fan base here that really is able to, they pay your bills. Truly. I mean, obviously, Murray is at the backbone of all this, and he's worth a ton of money. By the same token, though, the Flames turn a profit, and they don't do that by themselves. They do that with the help of people who watch the team. And I think the point that I made on the show and also on Twitter is that, the only two explanations the Flames allowed their fans to sort of come to the understanding of with that interview is that either they're not telling the whole truth, either they're leaving something out, or they're just not getting it. There's really no other explanation. Either they don't get it or they're lying. And that is, from a PR standpoint, maybe not a conclusion that I would want my fans to arrive to, or at least a choice that I would want them to make. So, it is weird that Conroy doesn't have a contract extension. I think the Flames would run the risk of losing a decent chunk of their goodwill in the hockey community if they lost Craig Conroy. And I would hope they come to some sort of agreement here soon. I think after that interview, even with the 2 wins that they've had, I think there's going to be a little bit of damage control that comes out here, because they've been getting absolutely lambasted. And quite frankly, it hasn't been undeserved. They kind of walked right into it. So we'll see what comes out of it. But obviously, there are bigger conversations, there are macro conversations to be had, and there are micro conversations to be had. And sort of the point of this show is talking about, tonight's game. And that's what we're going to do. Flames taking on a Vancouver team that is kind of their funhouse mirror equivalent. They've got a star who is on a big contract, who's been, at times struggling to live up to that contract. They've got a variety of decent wingers, some who have been better than others, a good goaltending tandem, and then a bit of a spotty defense. We'll take a look at the forwards to start things off. The Canucks forward group, terrible down the middle. Elias Pettersson, though, has been a lot better of late, done a better job of living up to his big billing as the Canucks' #1 center. Pettersson this year is now up to 20 points in 22 games. He's been scoring goals. He's been battling a little bit harder. That top line with Pettersson, Kane, and Sherwood has been decent, although Kane is a bit of a black hole still at 5-on-5. So we'll see exactly if he's able to bust out of his funk. I think I saw a stat that after last game, Kane is still shooting 0% at 5-on-5. So obviously the Canucks will want more there. And then you look down the middle. It is David Kampf, Aatu Ratu, and Max Sesson. Not exactly the center group of a NHL contender, but the Canucks will try to, at the very least, make things happen with that ragtag bunch down the middle. That's a team that invested a lot in getting Philip Hedl from the Rangers for JT Miller, and has not really been able to use him all that much. So the Canucks, definitely a bit of a mixed bag when you look at their forward group. On the back end for Vancouver, obviously everybody talking about Quinn Hughes, paired with Philip Hronek, Marcus Pettersson with Tyler Myers, and then, of course, as Daily Faceoff lists him, Elias Nils Pettersson with Tom Willander on the Canucks' third pairing. An interesting little mix. Obviously, Hughes is a bit of a lightning rod entering the final year of his contract next season. Hronek, again, just sort of a reasonably steady secondary option on a top pairing. Marcus Pettersson and Tyler Myers, a couple of guys who don't really push play offensively, but do so in their own zone a reasonable amount. And Pettersson and Willander, a couple of kids. So an interesting little defense core there. And in goal for the Canucks tonight will be Kevin Lankinen, who on the season is 4-6-2 with an .886 save percentage. Of course, as we know here in Calgary, save percentage isn't everything. By the same token, though, it's not ideal what you'd want to see from a goaltender who's making some pretty big bucks. Lankinen is signed through 2029-30 at $4.5 million a year. So, definitely a guy who is a good insurance policy when Thatcher Demko gets hurt, as he does quite often, but still not great numbers. So Flames in 31st in the league, Canucks in 30th. It's going to be a something to watch tonight at 7:00 p.m. local time. We hinted off the top, 3 shows on the docket tonight here for Flames Nation. Warmies is the first. Coming up at 6, it's going to be a lot of fun. A live edition of Barn Burner. Special show live from Cowboys Casino. We encourage you to tune in. It should be a lot of fun with Dean and Pinder and the group over there at Cowboys. Will be a ton of fun. So that'll be this is your pregame show. This is your pregame show. The Warmies here tonight. We're having a lot of fun. The folks in the chat are keeping it lively. And then, of course, after the game, we'll be back with you here for another edition of the Afterburner Show. I will be on that show, joined by my buddy Kent Wilson in absentia, somewhere from his grove outside of Calgary, one of those satellite communities. He'll be kind enough to join us on this Sunday evening, November the 23rd. Always fun when you have sort of a later game. You can talk about some games that are already in action on the NHL circuit. One game that was really interesting to me today was the Buffalo Sabres beating the Carolina Hurricanes by a 4-1 score. Obviously, the Flames defeating Buffalo earlier this month. But by the same token, the Sabres have kind of rebounded in earnest. Sabres beat Carolina, a very good team, 4-1 tonight. Goals from Alex Tuch, Jack Quinn, Beck Malenstein, and Tage Thompson. And the Sabres are now the winners of back-to-back games. Again, just a testament to how close the Eastern Conference is. They put up 9 goals on the Chicago Blackhawks on my birthday, which was quite a interesting outcome. And if you check over on dailyfaceoff.com, an interesting article written by none other than yours truly, there's still time for the Sabres to rebound after another tough start. Wouldn't you know it? They've won back-to-back games since then. So keep on checking in over at dailyfaceoff.com. Lots of interesting stuff going on there. In the chat here on this Sunday night, KN Ganth 3M with a very interesting comment. Michael, you want to put this one on screen? Can tell this guy hates being a Flames fan. Thank you, KN Ganth. We appreciate you tuning in. No, we're happy to be here. It's going to be a fun game. The Flames have individual players who I really like to watch. Matty Coronado and Dustin Wolf and Morgan Frost and Joel Farabee and Nazem Kadri. They've got lots of very good players who I really, really like. The only problem with the Flames is the combination of players. And there would be really nothing wrong with having these guys around. Just if you leaned a little bit further into, being at one end of the spectrum. And I think what some folks are afraid of is that the Flames might end up being a little too good for their own good. And so we'll see how exactly it shakes out, because as it stands, even after winning back-to-back games, they are still in 31st place, 32nd by points percentage. There's nothing to hate. They're not bad. Like there are way worse sports franchises out there. By the same token, though, I think Flames fans are justifiably desiring to see a higher draft pick this year. And by the same token, we should talk about, we were going to get a clip on it, but we can just talk about it. There are some really great consolation prizes. If you pick in the top 5 of this year's draft, you're going to get somebody good. We've talked a little bit about Gavin McKenna. We've talked a little bit about Keaton Verhoff. Ivar Stenberg with 4 points today in the Swedish Hockey League for Frölunda. He is up to, 20 points in 21 games in the Swedish Hockey League this season. Pardon me, it was yesterday where Frölunda took on Leksands in a 5-2 win. Stenberg was +4. He had 4 shots on goal, a goal and 3 assists in just 13 minutes and 28 seconds of ice time. Talk about efficient scoring. I mean, McKenna's been playing over 20 minutes a game for Penn State this year. Stenberg playing in Sweden's top-tier league, which probably doesn't get enough respect for being a very good league. 20 points in 21 games. That is some of the best draft year production from any player we have ever seen over in that level of competition. The other comparables for Stenberg at this point are guys who were playing 25, 30 years ago. Guys like Daniel and Henrik Sedin, guys like Peter Forsberg, who playing back in the 80s. The level of production that we are seeing for a draft-eligible player over in Sweden in Ivar Stenberg is incredible. And the bloodlines are there. His brother, Otto, was a first-round pick of the St. Louis Blues just a couple of seasons ago. So it is going to be a really, really exciting top end of this year's draft. And if this is the year the Flames do end up making their first ever top 3 draft pick, they'll be eating good. We'll be eating good in April, folks. So we're getting to the end of November. The season, we always say this, we've been a little defeatist, I think, myself included, saying, oh my gosh, there's 5 months left of this. Well, the seasons do go by pretty quick when you get into the every 2 days rhythm. And this will be game number 23 of the season for the Calgary Flames. Our buddy RG tuning in for another night on the Warmies show with a super chat. Proceeds from the super chat benefit the youth centers of Calgary, and we put your chat up on the screen. RG, we appreciate you tuning in. Welcome back. Missed you yesterday. I missed you yesterday, RG. Had to go take a little soiree out into the wilderness of mid-central Alberta to celebrate my 25th birthday. It's a big one. And I'm glad to be back with y'all here in the Sports Interaction studio. 279. That means a lot. Appreciate it. Tuning in and helping out the youth centers of Calgary. Ken, we appreciate you saying happy belated birthday. I'm just glad to be back. It was a fun weekend, and it's now Sunday night. What better way to cap off a birthday weekend than Flames Canucks? Truthfully, a matchup that in my heart growing up always meant something a little bit more than Flames Oilers. Because when I was growing up, the Oilers were terrible. They were completely irrelevant. Flames Canucks games always meant something more in the standings. The Canucks were a contender. They had Kessler and the Sedins and Burrows and Luongo and all those guys. And the Flames, they were at the tail end of the Iginla years. And there were some great moments. The Jerome Iginla scored his 50th goal of the season in 07-08 against the Canucks in the season finale. And then, of course, when I was growing up, there were the 2015 playoffs in which the Flames ended up defeating the Canucks in 6 games in the first round, led by my favorite player at that time, naturally, David Jones. Scored some big goals in that series. So there you go. Flames Canucks. This is a game that I always get up for. It doesn't matter if the Flames are last in the league or first in the league. These are always such fun games. And the Canucks are fun to watch, too. I mean, Pettersson and Hughes, obviously, they are strong individual players who will make this game a lot of fun. So we are looking forward to the game tonight. Joe Iginla, Fubar bringing up another good point. Fubar is just talking about all sorts of good stuff tonight. We're keeping tabs on Joe throughout the season on the Warmies here because, of course, the Flames need as much Iginla juju as they can get. Joe, we have talked about as being one of the younger players eligible for this year's draft, but has been a little bit quiet of late, has gone 5 games without a goal for the Edmonton Oil Kings, still at 20 points in 26 games this season. But my expectation is Joe, as it stands, probably in line to be a late 2nd-round pick, early 3rd-round pick this coming year. So that pretty much tees us up. If any more folks have comments and questions in the chat, we will get to them. One more time, Michael, let's just put up the line for tonight's game, the over-under and the pick'ems. The Flames, the underdogs in tonight's matchup over on Sports Interaction at +115. The Canucks at -140. Flames have won back-to-back, and you know what? Just for my birthday and just for the good times, I will say pick them again tonight to win their 3rd in a row. You know what? The Flames are in the basement. It doesn't really matter. 1 win's not going to kill them. 3 wins in a row. Every team wins 3 in a row. Doesn't matter what season it is. If you're on Team Tank, if you're on Team Sneak into the playoffs, let's just win 1 tonight. Why not? I'm going to say the Flames will win tonight's game. I'm going to say it'll be under 6, -1.5 on the spread. I'm saying we're going to see another goal for Matty Coronado, and the other Flames goals will be scored by, let's see, I'm going to say Mac Weegar, and why not Yegor Sharangovich will score the other Flames goal tonight in what will be a 3-2 Flames win over the Vancouver Canucks. And that is Smooth Jimmy's Lock of the Week. Thanks so much for tuning in with us. Live from the Sports Interaction studio brings you closer to the action with real-time betting. You can bet while the action unfolds with 100-plus markets per game, including player props, futures, and more. Head on over to sportsinteraction.com/Flames Nation. 19 plus. Please play responsibly. Well, one more time, folks, my name is Mike Gould. Thank you all for joining us tonight on the Warmies, and you'll want to tune back in at 6 p.m. for the Barn Burner pregame show live from Cowboys Casino. And after the game, our Warmies, well, no, not the Warmies. Come on, what am I saying? The Afterburner with the host of the Warmies, myself, joined by our buddy Kent Wilson, live here from our very same Marteloop studio. Should be a lot of fun. Until then, enjoy tonight's game. Flames Canucks live at 7 o'clock at Rogers Arena in Vancouver. Until then, my name is Mike Gould. Thank you for tuning in here at the Sports Interaction Studio. This has been another edition of the Warmies.
Hey, buddies. Thanks for watching. We appreciate it. Also, if you could throw in a like and subscribe, it does help us out with what it is we are doing. And check out more at flamesnation.ca.